Everyone, thanks very much for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well and enjoying the heat wave. But we're having a heat wave in Scotland, so I hope you are having it wherever you are. Sarah sends her apologies. She was out in the sun a wee bit too long today, so she's looking a bit like a lobster. So she's in the room all pasted up with all sorts of cream and stuff like that. So she sends her apologies for not coming on. Just before we start, we just want to say that yesterday, Paranormal History turned 1 year old. And we just want to say a massive big thank you to everybody that's, came on the show, helped us, advised us, everything over the past year. Has been an amazing year. A different kind of year also because of what's been going on. But Sarah and I never actually thought we'd get to where we are within the space of a year, and that includes the teams as well. So just a massive thank you from Sarah and myself to our teams, all our guests, just everybody that's been involved with us since we started out last year. So that's that. So we're 1 year old.
I'm sure the team also want to say thank you to you and Sarah as well, because you've obviously got this far. You're the one that's done all the hard work and got the challenge where it is.
Well,
a big thank you to you as well.
Well, it's very, very much appreciated. Sarah's in the chat anyway. Hi, B. She says, I'm very crispy. Sorry, guys. Yeah, she's really, really dead. Talking kind of like Ferrari red here, not just pink, but red, Because we're in Scotland, we're not used to the sun. Well, we are used to the sun 1 day a year, but we've had it kind of like 3 days now. So we're getting a bit greedy and lackadaisical, if that makes any sense. But anyway, folks, tonight we are meeting Matt. We have got another victim to our team. Name's Matt Allan. I know Justin's very excited about that, as you can see. So Matt just came on board yesterday. He's going to be working with Justin and Thomas Broad, who's on the panel tonight as well, doing their project, which I'll let them tell you a wee bit later on. But welcome aboard, Matt. It's good to have you.
It's good to be here, thanks.
Good stuff. So basically, we're just going to interrogate the hell out of you.
Yeah.
I hope you're ready, Matt.
I'm ready.
I will say to the viewers, I apologise. My voice is gone. I've been watching England. Obviously, we won, and my voice is just up to the left. But we are going to interrogate and literally examine every single detail of Matt. He's not going to know what's in.
Starting with your PIN number. No, I'm only kidding. So, Matt, how did you become interested in the paranormal? What kicked it off for you?
I think it's something that I've always been interested in from an early age, really. But more so, you see programs on TV and you just get into it. But through experiences as well, to be fair. A few years back, I had an experience in a house where I was working, and just little bits, and it all adds up, and it just makes your mind work, and you just want to try and find out a little bit more each time, don't you?
Was it little bits and pieces that didn't make sense that you couldn't get an explanation?
The first thing really was when I was little and I was staying at my granny's house, and we was going on holiday next day, and when we was asleep we was on the blow up beds in the front room, and the actual bed was just shaking, and there was no one there, but it was getting shook to the point where I actually shouted for my granny to come down, and I just made an excuse up why I was shouting. I asked her if we was going yet, but that stuck with me. But just little things. I was working at an house, and I knew this woman didn't have any kids. I knew she didn't have any, a partner or anything. I knew she just lived there on her own. And I asked her if I could nip to the loo, And when I got to the bottom of the stairs and looked up, there was actually a lad stood there in his school uniform, staring straight at me, and then veered off to the right. And I just thought, at that time, I didn't actually know she didn't have any kids. And I've gone up the stairs, none the wiser, nipped at Lou, come back down. Well, actually, when I got to the top of the stairs, the room that he went in, which I thought was his bedroom, was actually a parlor room where she looks after her cats, because she's got prize cats, and that's where she grooms them in there. So
Okay.
that got me a little bit more intrigued. To this day, I can't explain what the lad were doing there. Like,
Yeah, that's weird, that, isn't it?
And the woman in the house, has she seen him? Does she know anything about him? Or?
I did not even talk to her about it, because I just nipped at Lou and went straight back out. You know, I didn't even think anything of it. It was just there, clear as day. But I've spoke to people relatives who actually are her friend, and they shouldn't have any kids, nephews, nieces, nothing. So what the lad was doing, I don't have a clue, you know. But he wasn't to be seen anywhere. When I got to the top of the stairs, he weren't there. He weren't in the room that he walked in, because the door was wide open. You know, he just had a look. He was looking straight at me, blank expression, turned and walked, and that was it. Never seen him.
Possibly he might have lived there before the woman did, or obviously, or maybe if he had a school uniform on, and it suggests he was quite recent, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. He looked like about a 14, 15-year-old lad, you know.
So it's possible that he lived in that house, or his family lived in the house before that other lady. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So that's what spun your interest in the paranormal.
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in it anyway. From, like I say, from an early age, really. I've always believed there's got to be something. I kind of guess you've got people who believe in God, or Allah, or whatever. I believe in ghosts. It's as simple as that.
Same thing, isn't it?
It's as simple as that.
So I don't believe in God's heaven or hell or any of that, but I believe there's something after death. But from my experiences, there's definitely something, but what I don't know, and that for me, that's what keeps my intrigue, level of interest. Because I always think that I'm quite a logical person. If I can explain something, I'm like, right, that's done, move on to the next. Whereas with paranormal investigating, you always leave with more questions than answers.
Well, it's one of them. If you go somewhere and you know you're the only few people there, but you pick up voices on your recorder that weren't there, how were they there? You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Explain it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what about debunking stuff? What's your thoughts? How important do you think is debunking stuff?
100%. You've got to make sure that there's no other thing causing the phenomena to happen before you can say that it is paranormal. You know, how many times has someone said, "Oh, that's just moved," and you turn around and windows open? You know, you have got to debunk stuff. I mean, you get people. You go on investigations and you get people, and you look and is there somebody there? Can you move this? Spell your name, and you look and the finger's bent because they're pushing the planchette that hard. You know, it's just. There are ways around things, and you've got to find them ways first before you can say yeah or no. But when you know you're the only person in a room and something happens, then explain it. You know.
What would you say the best equipment you could take to a ghost investigation was, Matt?
Body, yourself.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I believe as well.
Second to that, you've always got to trust your gut feeling, haven't you?
Yeah.
You get a feel if you get a feeling that someone's watching you, even on the everyday life. If you think someone's looking at you, 9 times out of 10 they probably are. You know.
Yeah.
And one of the first things to happen is that the hairs on your arms go up, don't they? or you just get that bit of coldness or headache for no reason. You know, there's all different types of things that can happen if you're sick.
It's like I always say, ghost hunting is a lot like if you walk into a room where somebody's just having an argument, you know.
Yeah,
and ghost hunting is a lot like that. You know when there's something that changes in the atmosphere, if you like. You can just sense it.
Well, that's true. I mean, we've been out and we've done quite a few investigations since they lifted the restrictions up here, and there's tours at Thomas and I forgot your name there, Justin. Imagine we forget Justin's name. Thomas and Fred.
It's on the screen, Scott. Read it.
That's what I was just saying. It's right in front of me, and I forgot his name. Moving swiftly along. I forgot what I was saying now. There's two locations up here that Thomas and Justin have been in ways. One's on the station. A few weeks back, we done an investigation there with another team, and we're up the top floor, and I kept, looking over to my right hand side. I don't know what it was. I couldn't explain it. I just kept, that feeling you get that somebody's standing behind you, and you just keep. And I couldn't explain it. And the same happened. As a cut card we've been going to quite a few times, and the same was happening there. I was standing, and I just kept getting the feeling that something was, pulling me to look in that direction. Andy Murphy, I have not been on the Iron Brew, buddy. Tonight I'm on the Diet Coke, as you see. You know what I mean? But thanks for noticing. You do get this kind of feeling that you need to, you should be looking in a kind of other direction. I mean, that cut card we went to, quite a few things happening in it, but we can't explain. We're not saying they're paranormal. All we're saying is we can't explain them.
One good place where this scenario rolled out pretty well was Morecambe Winter Gardens, when we was all stood in the one of the top rooms, and everybody just had the feeling that someone was stood at the doorway, and you couldn't shake it off. You had the feeling for quite a while, and anyway, I can't remember who said it now, but someone said, "Oh, just walk into the room, come and join us," and all you heard were footsteps coming from the doorway straight to the middle of the room. That was like one of the weirdest experiences I think I've ever witnessed. One that I ain't got an answer for anyway.
Under the stage was worse, I think, Matt.
Yeah, that was atmosphere, wasn't it?
that was intense, shall we say. For the viewers that obviously don't know, obviously I know Matt. I've known Matt a long time, ghost hunting. We went to Morecambe Winter Gardens probably about 2 years ago now, what with COVID and whatever. We was in under the stage, and we had all the equipment on and everything was going off and blah blah. I was like, we'll try and experiment, we'll turn it all off. So we turned all the equipment off. Matt was stood, say, like where I'm sat now, and then like I was stood to Matt's left, like a ball, if you like a circle. And then we was in there, we turned all the equipment off, and then like all of a sudden Matt went, "Have you moved?" And I was like, "No, I'm still here, I've not actually moved." So I put my torch on to show him where I was, and there was a figure literally stood in front of us. Myself and Matt both saw it, but the entire atmosphere under the stage, I've never experienced that again, to be fair. I don't know if you have, Matt.
No, it went from black to extremely black.
Yeah, but it just changed to being like quite a happy atmosphere, if you like, and then it changed to like I don't know how to explain it, like a sinister atmosphere, and it was like you need to go, and you need to go now. It was like you were being threatened. It was. I don't know how to explain it. It was weird.
No, that's a good explanation.
Me and Matt didn't actually speak about it when we were there. We only spoke about it actually when we left. We was on the way home in the car. As like, I brought out and said, like, did you feel threatened in that basement and like under this stage? And I was like, yeah. Did you feel that? I was like, yeah, I did. That was extremely weird.
Something that happened to Sarah and I when we went to Canongate Cup last year. And said Canongate Cup's in Edinburgh, it's at the bottom of the Royal Mile. And as soon as we walked in, it was dark. It was about, I don't know, about 11, 12 at night. I was late anyway. And we just get this kind of feeling that, I wouldn't say it was threatening. It was just a feeling that you weren't wanted there.
Yeah.
That something or somebody didn't want you. It might have been in their heads because obviously you're in the graveyard late at night.
Yeah.
So I know the mind does tend to, start doing somersault, but as Sarah says, it was a creepy place. It is quite it's a graveyard, so it is quite creepy, but it was just this. And after I went, Sarah went back to the car, I went for a walk around, filmed a wee bit, and nothing usually, I don't get freaked out, nothing usually, bothers. But when we came out when I was standing in the car, we were heading up to Greyfriars after it, and I just had that feeling. The best way to describe it is something bad was going to happen. I don't know if people at NB's ever had that. They get up in the morning and they feel, the day's going to be a bad day. I've got this feeling something may go wrong. This is a feeling standing at the car, that something was waiting on us or going to happen. But luckily enough, hi Shelley, the further we get away from Canongate, the less, the less the feeling, but the feeling disappeared. Nothing bad did happen. The only thing that did happen was our batteries totally drained within about 15 minutes in Greyfriars. That was the only bad thing. But it's just that heavy sense of you weren't wanted to go away and don't bother us.
That's what I think we can describe that as.
Yeah,
they definitely didn't want us there. So and we knew we didn't have to talk to each other. We just both walked, didn't we? And it wasn't even like, should we go now?
I've never experienced that again. To be fair,
no. The only other time when I've had something happen that scared the life out of me was my wife's friend said, "Can you come round because we're having some issues?" And it originated around her daughter. Her daughter kept sensing a lot of things and stuff was happening. So we said, "Yeah, we'll come round." I didn't have the intention though of actually investigating, even though I did take equipment. But they kept saying, go on, ask something." I said, "I'm not asking anything. I do not want nothing to follow me on, right?" Because I just had this feeling, and go on, ask something. Probably an hour went by, and I thought, I just give in, and really I shouldn't have done. And we did a little investigation till probably about 12:30. I left, and then when we came home, I was literally in bed for 1 o'clock. Came home straight to bed. By 1:30, I was woken up with the feeling of my duvet being pulled off. Absolutely petrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't turn over because at the time our little lad slept in our room because he was only a baby. I couldn't even turn around to see if he was all right. I was absolutely petrified. And for a good what seemed like hours, it probably wasn't hours, it probably minutes, but what seemed like hours, I was just fighting to keep this quilt on my bed because it was like it was trying to get pulled off. And that terrified me for quite a while, to be fair. And every night I went to bed after that for a good few months. It's the last thing I thought of. And funnily enough, to top that off, 2 days later, I could just get a really strong smell of like, the only way I can say is poo. It just smelled like poo, really, like a dog had done something or whatever. And a couple of hours after, my wife's friend rang and she said, "Oh, it was really weird today. About 4 o'clock, the house absolutely stunk. Like the dog had done something, and the two things married up. It was around the same time and everything." And anyways, after that, nothing happened. But that petrified me for months, to the point where when every time it was bedtime, it was just I didn't want to go. But now I'm a strong believer in protection. Make sure you at least find your players in your head, you know.
Yeah.
It's
like, I know you are still scared of going up the stairs, when you turn your light off downstairs because of that experience.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. See, my missus doesn't believe in ghosts or anything. She's pure skeptic. So if I was to say anything, then obviously that's me. She's a skeptic. She doesn't believe in this kind of stuff. You see. But my little lad kept waking up every night, shouting me, and Dad, that person's in my room. That person's in my room. I said, "There's no one in your room." And that went on for ages. Anyway, and I was on an investigation, and I said to this guy who's like a medium, he doesn't know anything about me. I'm not on Facebook or anything. You know, like, there's no details about me anywhere. You know, he didn't even know my last name. And I said to him, I said, Scooby, I said, my little lad's waking up every night saying this. Do you have any reasons why? And he said, just wait 1 second. He closed his eyes for 30 seconds. And he looked up, he said, this might not mean anything to you. And he said a name. And how he plucked this name out of thin air, I ain't got a clue. But it was my auntie's name who died. And he said, yeah, she's just watching over him. So that's a real freak one to get your head around, you know.
I know Scooby as well. He's Graham Richardson is his actual name. He's an absolutely fantastic medium. Some of the stuff he's done is phenomenal.
1743. You said it was 20 quid.
Got to make a profit, son.
He's no paid yet, John, but don't worry, I'm working on that. It's a long story, Matt. It's a long story. You'll find it as we go along. Don't worry, John. I'm working on the entry fee. Thank you very much for it.
John's
right now.
from PIX England, same as us, Matt. He lives down Coventry way, I believe.
It's John and Forrest are doing the Cannock Chase project, Chasing Legends.
Yeah.
So you'll get to meet him. But no, I'm working on that one, buddy. You know what I mean? So what's your thought on mediums and stuff, Matt? I know there's a lot, you know, out there, platform mediums and all the rest of it. And my opinion is it can be hit and miss with them. I'm not saying anything bad or disrespect them, but to me, it can be a bit hit and miss.
I think, as far as investigations go, unless you really delve into history, or, well, not even if you delve into history, if you read a bit of history, you can go and you can say, oh, such and such died here. Yeah, his name. Oh, what's his name? You know, you can just pull the name up that you've just read off Google 10 minutes ago. Do you know? And I think a lot of people do that. You know, when it's down to these groups and stuff. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I do believe that people can communicate with people that's passed over. But that's down to us to decide who's telling who's the true ones and who are the fake ones. You know, but our Scooby pulled that name out of thin air, and it's not a common name. It's not a name you can just say, oh, it's Carol or it's Sandra or it like that. She was called Agnes, my auntie. So how he got Agnes out of thin air is beyond me. You know. So I do believe there are people that can communicate, and
it's an interesting fella, isn't he, Scooby?
Yeah, a lot of the time
he builds his own equipment as well.
See, you see him, and you can see some of them, and they'll say something, and they'll say, "Is that true? Yes. Is that true? Yes." But they're prompting you to say yes, you know. So then they'll move on, and then they'll be, "Are you following me? Do you understand what I'm saying now?" And then you're like, "Oh yeah, I do, yeah." Do you know, and it's very vague what they're actually saying. Do you know, oh, it's someone who's smoked. Well, how many of us know someone that smoked and probably could have died from effects of smoking? Do you know, and that's just what you've got to do. You've got to try and get rid of the bad ones. And
so I think unless you have an experience with a medium where they can actually tell you something that's close to home, until that happens, you don't really trust them. But if they can pluck stuff, they don't know you from Adam. They could basically tell you your life story. Yeah. Then I'll believe it.
Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, we're quite close with Charlotte Underwood. Charlotte Underwood, she's been on the panel quite a few times, and she told Sam, who's part of the Scottish team, she told Sam some things about a relative that there's no way Charlotte could have known. And this was just on a panel. You know, she'd never met a face or nothing like that. And Charlotte was totally bang on with what she told Sam. So, I mean, it's stuff like that. I've been to see a medium long time ago. She told me things about my daughter, my dad, my gran, my ex-girlfriend, personal things that I never told anybody, not even my first wife. And this woman was spot on with everything. And it's when you get them, you know, as you say, Matt, I've watched a lot of them on TV, and they'll say, as you say, maybe they smoked, or they'll get black hair, you know, all kind of stuff like that. And, well, what's the chances? Somebody's had a relative somewhere that's got black hair.
Yeah.
So, you know,
this is a prime example, right? So, me and Justin went on a investigation on Saturday, and the medium nurse said to somebody, "There's someone in your family who's pregnant. If they're not pregnant, they're gonna get pregnant." Yeah. So then, does that ring any bells? You know, and it's like somebody's gonna pass the driving test. They might have already passed it, but they are gonna pass it if they haven't passed it. Do you know how vague is that? You know, and these people were drawn in and going along with it, and it's that kind of thing that irritates me.
Yeah.
If they can say, "Oh, I've got your granddad here, Bill," you know, and he passed away, then you think, hang on a minute, there's got to be some truth to this, you know.
They did do a lot of open-ended, which call them innuendos, something that you can like latch onto and fill up on it. It was just like, you just saw them talking, and you was like, me and Matt did. We walked away. It was just like, nah.
A true medium or psychic, or they won't ask you questions. They'll tell you stuff that you know. They'll tell you stuff. They won't probe you or fish for answers. You know, and that's the difference. That's what you've got to be careful of.
Can you tell me if I'm right?
Yeah.
Like,
do you agree? Do you understand? You know, and it's like you're fishing for him to. And at one point they said no. And the guy said, "Oh, just burn me." And he did his little marching up and down thing for 10 seconds and then came out with something else. And that's just what you've got to weave out of it. Yeah. You know?
Thomas, Thomas, your field's history. Do you have any kind of thoughts on mediumship and what the guys have been saying?
It's a difficult one because I've had no experiences with mediums. As you know, I'm quite new to this scene overall. I don't have nearly as much experience as you three. I mean, it's a tough one. My intuition says it's impossible. It can't be true. Surely it could be replicated in a lab. It could be tested, but another part of me thinks, who am I to say? Yeah, I'm trying to articulate it in a way without offending anyone, because I understand everyone has different beliefs about the subject and it can be quite sensitive. I mean, I'm highly skeptical of mediums.
Yeah.
But I'd like to sit down with one and have an experience.
That's it. I mean, we went to Blackpool, me and Mrs., and we just said, "Oh, we've never done it before. We've never seen a medium." And like you do, you chuck love and 20 quid in a booth, and she tells you something. But it made you laugh because Mrs. went in first, said a load of stuff to her, and then I went in, and she said the exact same to me, but changed the she to a he and the he to a she. You know, she just reversed everything she said to Mrs. So then you think, yeah, they really just take it mick, aren't they? Like, but and it's like Tom said, unless you have an experience, with a medium and they say something that is concrete that you know, then I don't think anyone really could believe in them, could they?
Nah.
Right, you're quite right. You know, Mike, you're quite right, Thomas, as well. You know, if you, I think the same way. Anybody, at the end of the day, anybody can stand up and say, "I'm a medium." You know.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody stands up and says, "I'm a doctor," say, "Well, let's see your, you know, your qualifications, your paperwork, and everything." But if somebody stands up and says, "I'm a medium," you can't say, "Well, let's see your paperwork." So you start to take them at their word, and then they start telling you bits and pieces. But I need to be taught. Even though I believe I'm a big believer in the paranormal, obviously, I'm always skeptical as well. Because
you have to be, didn't you? Paranormal simply means not normal. So you have to debunk everything else to determine it to be ghost orientated or spirit orientated, whichever words you want to say. It's like when people say like a ghost is a residual haunting, a spirit is an intelligent haunting. So you can interact with a spirit, but you can't interact with a ghost. But poltergeist translates as noisy ghost, it's a German word. Does that mean you can't interact with a poltergeist? But when you challenge them on that, they're like, "I know it's all to do with energy." I was like, "Well, hang on a minute. You just said you can't communicate with a ghost. Make your mind up."
I mean, we're all looking for that. You know, obviously we all get, when we go investigating, we get something, we get a buzz, and we want it to be, you know, we want it to be real and what have you. It's happened to us. You know, I put my hands up. It's happened to us. Like something like, "Oh, excellent! Did you hear that?" But then it turns out to be, you know, a bird or something, whatever. So, and it kind of deflates you. But I mean, we that cut card we were talking about. We done an investigation 3 weeks ago, and we got footage on the Facebook page with the cat balls on an iron railing, and one of the cat balls comes off, literally just flying off. We could, when one of our friends suggested that the railings were maybe, you know,
loose or whatever,
springy because one of the team was leaning against the railings slightly. So we went back, you know, the following week. We went back with Thomas and Justin. And you know,
I
we tested.
shook them railings as hard as I could, and they would not move, and them cat balls would not fall off. There's no way them balls would have gone at that trajectory off the fence just by someone leaning on that fence. Not a prayer in hell. Not a chance. And I'd be the first to debunk it.
Exactly, so something like that, you know. After our friend says the railings, you're sitting there, you're taking it in, you're thinking, "Oh no, it's not the railings, it's definitely." But then you think, right, okay, maybe it could be the railings. So you get back and you try and replicate it the best you can for the previous week. Obviously, you can't get it 100%, but you can look at the railings and get a shaking start. And the railings were solid. Still not saying it's paranormal. You know, I'd love for it to be. I don't have another explanation for it. You told me he saw the railings as well. I can't explain why that cat ball came flying off the way it did.
But I suppose it's the same with, like, if you, like, obviously the cat balls fell off the fence. If, like, say, for example, you saw a shadow figure or something else, and then you go back and try and replicate it, you couldn't. It wouldn't. You couldn't replicate it in that way again.
It's you can obviously someone says I've seen a shadow over. I mean, Sarah's seen a shadow in Canning. I can't remember if it was Canning get a Greyfriars. Hopefully she's still in the chat and no fell asleep. B, was it Canongate or Greyfriars? My mind's on fire tonight. I'm telling you, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
Canongate or Greyfriars? A dark shadow.
I thought I saw a shadow figure at Alloway Kirk, if you remember, when I ran off. Not sure it was, I don't know, but I just saw it outside now, just see someone walking across, like there's someone in the graveyard. So I ran off to have a look, but there was no one there. It's like, I couldn't explain that, to be fair.
There's Sam saying it was Canongate by Rizzo's grave, because George Rizzo's meant to be buried there on the side of the church. It was in Canongate. Sarah's she's seen a black shadow. But then seeing that at the power station I was talking about, when Forrest and Joe were up, we went there, and Joe's brother came along, and he's a total skeptic. Nothing, he says he's not scared of anything, but he claims that he's seen the figure of a man standing in a far corner of one of the levels we were on, and it was totally freaked out. Absolutely, you had to be. It was totally freaked out. But I went over, had a look. Obviously, it wouldn't still be there, but you go over and you look anyway, and there was nothing there. But he says there was a figure, there was a guy standing over that corner. I saw him, he's standing watching us, and he was totally, freaked out, and that was him for the rest of the night. Sam is part of our Scottish team as well, Matt. She's saying hi to you.
Hey, all right.
Sam's nuts, by the way.
I can concur with. I've met Sam. I completely concur with Scott.
Thomas, what's your opinion of Sam? I'm going to put you on the spot, my friend.
I think I have quite the opposite opinion. I thought she was very quiet and very civil and very polite.
Were you in the same place as us?
They did say this in the car as well on the way back from Scotland.
The sound
introduced herself and gave me a very brief tour of the graveyard and the various stones from different ages. I thought she was very nice, very accommodating.
Yeah,
she's a lovely lady. The great.
So Sam and Shelley are absolute diamonds.
I agree. Yeah, they're both very nice.
The rest of the team, to be fair.
The graveyard was Thomas's first endeavour into investigating, wasn't it?
It was, and I was quite happy with at least one of the occurrences that we had when the gate seemed to open by itself.
It did. It actually opened by itself. And Matt, honestly, everyone in that graveyard heard this gate open. And it was like, I think Sam and was it Sam and you, Tom, that run off down there first. Yeah. There was no one there. There was no explanation for that gate to open. It was like literally a heavy, solid iron gate. It would have taken some force to push that. A wind wouldn't have blown that.
Yeah.
And there was no wind anyway, was there? Yeah.
Were you talking about this last week?
We probably were today. Yeah, it was weird, honestly.
Yeah, I think I was listening to you talking about it, because you said it's a really heavy gate that can't move, didn't you?
Yeah, on live. Yeah, we would have been talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
We didn't do one, did we, from out of the way, did we? Because we just got carried away over time. Because Scott said, "What time is it?" And it was like 12:30. Because time just literally just vanished, didn't it?
It was weird that day. We went to the power station, and then we went to a bit next day, and the time just seemed to disappear. And we went down the Kirk, and the time just totally, absolutely flew in that night. But the gate was near the gate as well, and we looked up. Everybody looked up, and because we were expecting maybe the police to come in or something because you would have seen a crowd in the back of the grave, right? But there was not a soul, anywhere. And it's on a quiet section of road, so there wasn't any crowds passing by or anything. So it's these wee bits and pieces, but I know you think it is, Matt. People think to believe in the paranormal, you have to have a big experience, like a table flying up in the air or pictures flying up the wall. But I don't think it can be a handful of little things that happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Just needs to be that one thing that you can't explain.
Well, I went to in 2012. I was a security guard, and we had the contract at what used to be an asylum near where I live. It was a mental hospital, and it was empty apart from a certain section of it. And we got put at the back in a sort of courtyard, so it was gated off, and it was buildings all around, so it was like a courtyard in the middle. So we was locked in, but it was only one guard overnight, and it was really strange because the buildings where the office was, that used to be a blacksmith's, and where they used to do the horses' shoes and stuff. And you could sit in the office and you could actually hear what sounded like somebody hammering metal. But then you say, oh, well, it could be radiators clicking or whatever. But so that's like a strange experience. But then when I went outside and I was doing the walk around, as I was walking, I could hear footsteps behind me. And I'm thinking, is it the echo, of my feet on the floor? So I stopped, and then a split second when I stopped, it took another split second for the footsteps from behind to stop. But it sounded like he had a stone in my shoe or something. It was like a loud noise. Anyway, that's another thing. And then I heard a massive bang, and I went over to the door that was locked, but the door was wide open, and I'm thinking, but I locked that door. I know for a fact I locked that door. So it's a series of things. They're only little things, but they are things that then start making you think, well, it's either my mind's really messed up or this stuff is happening, and you. It's like you say, it doesn't have to be a massive thing. I could be sat here now talking to you, and I could see a movement out of the corner of my eye. And I know it's only me in here. So what's caused that movement? What's caused that shadow?
I would say 99% of sightings are all caused. Not caused. 99% of sightings people do see from their peripheral vision rather than looking straight at them.
John's saying, comment for John. It was bonkers when you can hear literal footsteps when you're doing your best to rationalise it. But no,
I agree, John. me and Matt have been to locations, and you can literally hear someone walking around the room in front of you. And like, as they come towards you, it's obviously louder. As they go away, it's quieter. And you can literally hear that.
We had a little girl dancing, didn't we? You could hear her feet on the floor.
And the lady spot, Wintergons, there was a spirit of a little girl that was she was known to dance, and she was in there, and we asked if she could do a dance for us, and you could literally hear her footsteps going away and towards you all the way around all around the room. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Justin, that's no bother, buddy. Just drop me a wee mail, and I'll answer you right back, buddy. Whatever it is you're needing help with, just drop me a wee mail, my friend, and I'll get back to you on that. But no, I mean, the Kinder, I used to moan flat, and there was wee things used to happen in there. We'll say wee things. I've told this story many a time, but I mean, it's something that will stick in my head, and I'll never. I was a creature of habit. Every night I turned the TV off, my TV remote would go down in front of the telly, you know, and I loved myself. And it was, you know, a religious thing every night. One day I went to put the telly on, the remote wasn't there. So I started looking about. Now, I knew myself I'd put it in front of that telly. I found it underneath my bed. I had a double bed. It was halfway underneath my bed, and it was in the next room. There's no, and you know, I was telling people, you know, whatever they say, "Ah, you must have done it." I say, well, even if I, why would I put a remote control halfway underneath my bed? I said, I know I never moved up. You know, and I always went in, every time I went out of the house, I would put my key in the door and turn it. It was a thing my dad drummed into us. And I locked the door and always turn it 1/4 turn to the left, as my dad used to say. And his way of thinking was, if you leave your key sitting straight in the door, somebody can, you know, poke the key out. So always turn it a wee bit to the left. So, you know, so I got up one morning to go to work, and the keys weren't in the door. And I couldn't find them. They were sitting in the coffee table. I can't explain how they got there, because I know myself, I locked the door the night before, but they were sitting in the coffee table. And I had a load of Buddhas with Sarah backing up. I had 13 Buddhas in my house, and I had them all sat. I was a wee bit OCD with the Buddhas, I will admit. You know, I will put my hand up. But I had them all sitting in certain positions, and I could tell if any of them had been moved, even half an inch, a centimetre. And I would come in for work every now and again, and one of the Buddhas had been slightly moved. I couldn't explain why, because I didn't have any pets or anything. And again, the house was empty, it was just me. But I would notice it right away that one of my Buddhas had just moved just a wee bit. And I could never explain, you know. So just wee general bits and pieces. People might say, no, you must have bumped into it when you're walking past it or something. Possibly, you know. But it's these wee bits and pieces that make you sit back and think, well, I think that's a good thing with the amazing thing with the paranormal is we don't know. You know, it's like an endless field sort of thing. We can search for years and years and never ever, you know, get an answer. Justin says, what was that? I hate it when your Buddhas get touched. Oh, he said, drive me nuts, Justin. I swear to Buddha, it would drive me nuts. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. So, Matt,
me and Matt can tell you an experience. We went to a transport museum in St Helens. We was on the back of what was an old American prison bus. It had been involved in, we didn't know this at the time, but it was involved in some type of prison scuffle where quite a few people died on this bus. We were sat at the back of the bus. You could literally see the whole entire length of the bus. You had the door to get out from our left as we were looking at it, and you had the driver on the right hand side. But obviously that was empty because there was no driver. But we were looking, and then all of a sudden it blocked out. There was a person there, and he literally turned around and looked over his left shoulder straight out. It was me and Matt saw it. And we couldn't explain it. We was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Because our other friend, Lisa, had to get off the bus because she was weird. But also a strange thing, later on that night, we went on to another bus where a lot of children died. Lisa actually passed out. And she had to be taken away from it. It was weird. It's an interesting place in Helens Transport Museum.
Thomas, what about you? Have you ever had anything happen to you that was kind of out of the ordinary that you couldn't explain, that maybe set you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I discussed one on the previous stream, but I do have others. I think Justin's aware of what I'm going to say. There was one.
We've had a few conversations, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as some of you may know, I've been exploring abandoned places for many years. It's about 15 years. I've been around the world, going to various places, and there was one called Bailitz's Haustatten in Germany. It's an abandoned sanatorium, and it's quite a dark history, of course, because it was an asylum at one point, and then, of course, Hitler was treated there in World War One, and there was a battle there with the Red Army and the Wehrmacht in 1945. Lots of people were killed. To make a long story short, I was wandering around and I heard very distinct footsteps on one of the upper levels, and it sounded as if they were coming down towards me. At the time, I wasn't really afraid of a paranormal explanation. I was more afraid of security or some kind of squatter. Even though it's well preserved, it's not somewhere where you'd expect squatters. It's quite remote and isolated. But no, I fled and hid in a room and trapped myself in this building. I was scared to move because I just didn't know what it was, and it was only after a few minutes of hiding I thought, oh, perhaps it's a ghost or something. The second one I can think of again was footsteps. It was when I was very little, perhaps about 6 or 7 years old, and it wasn't too long after my nana passed away. And I heard footsteps on our landing, very loud, like boots, almost like hobnail boots. They stopped outside of my bedroom, and I just remember shouting for my mum, and there was no reply. But my mum was very strict, and I know if I was awake at that time, I would have been, punished for it. So that's how I know it wasn't my mum. I heard them. It was definitely footsteps, and but our landing was carpeted. It sounded as if it was on wood. So that would be another unexplained sort of event. I don't think I've had any others. I have had, but I don't recall them. Just ones from when I was very young, like a baby, and my parents told me about what I allegedly saw or communicated with. I've got no memory of them.
It's all wee. It can be all wee thing. I don't know. I might. My wee light, my camera. My wee light in this camera. I would know for a wee second. Did that disappear there at all?
Everyone periodically keeps disappearing, to be fair.
Yeah.
There was a wee kind of glitch.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
can Tom, don't worry, buddy.
Okay.
So obviously, Matt, you just joined us. As I say, we've been going for a year. You've been in other teams probably before. What do you think makes a good team? What do you think it takes to make a teamwork?
Listen to each other. Don't have one person that thinks that they're better than everyone else. Do you know? There's no one that knows any more than anyone else.
No.
We all know the same because we don't actually know anything. It's when you get the characters that think they do know everything. I think that's when you can find yourself getting in a situation where you just don't want to be a part of it. To be honest, we're all equals when it comes to trying to find anything.
Yeah, there is no experts, is there, in this field?
No.
Everyone that's in this field can say they've had experiences. Everyone has their own way of doing experiments. Are they better than another person's? No one actually knows.
Totally agree.
Well, as you say, you get people that claim to be. I've seen in a lot of channels, and it gets in my nerves, when they say I'm an expert in this field of the paranormal. As you say, there's no experts. You can have somebody that's got, hi Sean, buddy, hope you're doing well. You can have somebody that's got more experience, and I mean, if you get somebody that's been studying the paranormal for 20 years, and you get another guy who's only been studying it for 2 years, then he's going to have more experience in it.
Yeah.
He's not an expert in it. He's just got, more knowledge. Same as the gadgets. I mean, I've always said that, Matt's gone. Matt's away. Well, Matt was with, but he obviously disappeared. So, don't know where he's.
I don't know what's happened there, yeah.
I'm blaming you for that one, Justin. I think you put him off.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's just, there he comes. Wait a minute, he's back.
Is he back?
I don't know what happened. I don't have a clue. It just went black and I went, hello?
We all panicked. It was like, that's gone.
I don't know what happened. It went black.
Are you guys buggered off already? Do you know what I mean? Can't have that.
Yeah, that's a good start, isn't it?
I was panicking. I was like, oh man.
Just didn't talk too much. You know what I mean? But gadgets as well. I put my hands up and I tell everybody I'm not a gadget person. I like the laser pen because it's plain and simple and easy to use. And I can push a button on a camera. And that's it. Even though Sarah and I run PIH, gadgets and I just do not get on. We tend to fall out a bit. But it's just the way I am. So, there is people out there, Sarah, as well, that's a lot better than me than using gadgets. And they know what stuff's for. It might seem daft, I've been into paranormal for 30-something years, a long time, but gadgets it's just one of the things in the paranormal that I've never actually looked into because it's, I've never had any interest in them. No offense to anyone that uses them.
Yeah. I've got a lot of gadgets.
You get
that. I don't believe in the gadgets because I try and debunk the stuff that I put a lot of money into, which is a bit weird. I always think you should have to get if a gadget goes off, like whether it be a K2, something simple as a K2 meter, or a cat ball. If only one piece of equipment is going off, debunk it. If 2 pieces are going off, or 3 pieces, 4 pieces, if they're all going off at the same time, that's evidence.
Aye.
Oh, he's gone again.
He's away again.
Yeah. I didn't do that.
That's fine.
I didn't do that. I didn't touch it.
Why not?
As far as gadgets are concerned, I like gadgets, but I find that you get I've got the latest thing and it does this and it does this, and you spend like 300 quid on something or whatever, but you can buy the circuit board yourself for a £5 and just met one.
Yeah,
it's all the same stuff that goes in them.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made if you can build your own stuff. Definitely in this field. I'm just going to say hi, Sean. I've just seen your comment in the chat. I've just read it, so I'm just acknowledging that I've read it.
Sure, I actually need video call you, buddy. Just been not up to here with stuff. Sean, doing a lovely couple there for Hastings. We're actually meeting up with him when we go to Hastings.
Okay.
So I'll try to get your name right. South, because I know they changed their name. South Coast Paranormal. Stick it in the chat, Sean, so as I know I've got it right.
Yeah. I mean, is Sean part of Charlotte's team?
No.
Or is it a separate entity?
Hi, Jacqueline. No, I don't know who I told about my mask being pulled by an unseen person in Hall in Wales just after I felt it. So K2s went off as well as another piece of light up.
I've been to Pennyland, John. In the hall, I didn't really get much. I don't know if it was the same as you. In the, I suppose you'd call it like the stable block. that was extremely interesting.
South Coast Paranormal. Cheers, Sean. South Coast Paranormal. And research group. There you go.
Okay.
I mean, it is good. I mean, we use the cat balls. I like the cat balls because, again, they're plain and simple. I know a lot of people,
Yeah.
there's a lot of opinions out there that they're rubbish. Some people think they're crap. Some people, we've had them going off in different locations for no reason. There's been nothing, nobody touched them. They've been lying in the ground, whatever, and they just go off. And there's a few times we've had them go off in command. Same as the K2 meter. When, you had one time we done an investigation about a month ago, 5 weeks ago, in a cut card, and we were getting 5 or 6 different names, and asked that if your name's Roy, was one of the names. If your name's Roy, then go to yellow, and right away it went to yellow. And I'd done it a few times. We'd ask a question, and it would go up to yellow. There's Jackie saying, well, John's 2 seconds, guys. John's saying, yes, we're a gay man, supposedly.
Yeah, he hung himself in the stable block. Yeah, that's interesting.
Jacqueline, I have cat balls. I watch. Is that the bit of footage you put up, Jacqueline? Because I watched that. Jacqueline's in tomorrow night. In fact, guys, she's got footage of the cat balls going off on command, which is quite fascinating. Jacqueline runs a group Paranormal Path. So give that a wee look on Facebook, guys. And the footage should be on there, I think. No, you mean Scott, everything hectic and finding time to look forward. We're looking forward to it as well, buddy.
Yeah, definitely.
Jacqueline says Jacqueline's out tomorrow night. I was on an air raid shelter, she said. But I don't put a lot of faith in gadgets, but if something goes off on command, I find that hard to explain.
Yeah, on command, yes. It's like the cat balls. I've put them on my dining room table, not moved for hours, and they've still gone off. But if they're going on and off on command, then there's some something to that in there. There's some relevance to what you're asking a spirit to do.
Mm-hmm. Sarah and I, one night in here, we hooked up the camera to it. There's another PC. Sarah's PC's on the other side of the room. We hooked up our camera to the PC, and we went to bed and we left it running. Before we did, we 3 cat balls and we placed them on cushions. And so you could see the whole room. There was nobody in the room. We just went to bed, shut the door. That was it. The cats were in beside us as well. We checked it the next day, and about 6.5 minutes in, one of the cat balls went off.
Yeah.
Now, we know that there's at least 2 spirits in this house. We've had things happen. We got a catch on the laser grid as well. But that cat ball went off about 6.5 minutes in. And we can't explain why, because nothing changed in this room.
We had that, Justin, didn't we? We had that house when we heard what sounded like a dog whining. Do you remember?
Oh, where was that?
Danny's,
your mate's house. Yeah. What Matt was talking about earlier. Yeah.
It's like we put the cat ball went on the sofa in the conservatory.
Yeah, the cat ball was going off, and then like everyone in the room actually heard this dog, like what sounded like a dog whining. Matt's friend does have dogs. I was like, the dogs want to come in because they're outside. We walked to the front room to get to the back door to let the dogs in. The dogs were already inside. But this sound came from outside, didn't it?
It comes from the conservatory.
It was like a weird setup in it, yeah. Yeah, that was...
but the ball started flashing, didn't it? So it was like a dog had moved or something, and as if it was going to go out or something like that. It was weird.
Yeah, I can explain that.
See, I think that's important. You need to try and debunk as much as possible.
Yeah.
I know you get the groups out there. I've seen them myself. No harm to them, no disrespect to them. They'll get an investigation and they're all, sugared up, as I call it. They're all, let's go find some ghosts. And the second they hear, they could be in the gate, 20 seconds, and they might hear a twig snap, and the whole lot jump on it. That's paranormal. Did you hear that? We all heard that. We're going nuts. And then it turned a fox standing on a branch or something. And, I've seen so many of these people, and, their intentions are good. They're enjoying what they're doing and what have you. But they just get that much enthusiasm, and they're wanting that capture that much. Anything, you hear, it's paranormal. It's Sean saying, I haven't tried to pop that up. Definitely, Sean. You can get them on Amazon and eBay. They're about £3-4 a pack of three. Definitely, because we've used them a few times and we've had quite a few results of them. For £3 or £4, they're definitely worth I would say they're definitely worth a try. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, anything's worth a try in this field.
I noticed a couple of years back.
Like the apps, they always say they are for entertainment purposes. But I know you guys have had stuff through that's made sense to the investigation at the time. Do I believe it? No, I don't. But I'm not going to distrust someone because they believe in it. It's so different for me using the REM pod, the K2 meter, spirit box. It's all research and all instrumental. It's all like experimental. It's all just like we're all trying for the same thing. We're all trying to communicate with a spirit and get some knowledge as to what this kind of thing's about.
On that note, though, the cat balls is a but I'd always say as well, at least at some point during an investigation, not necessarily all the way through, at least try your recorder to catch voices, because it's a weird one, these voices, because you can get one and you can hear it straight away, then you can ask 10 people and they won't hear it, and then you can ask another 10 people and them 10 people will hear what you're hearing. They're a weird one, but confirmation that I had one time was I used an app on the laptop. I can't think what it's called now. It's one that Justin told me to use, actually. Alice, it were called. And so anyway, I tried it out, and it came up with a name. It said John Stones. Well, not on the actual recorder. I actually had a guy saying John Stones to know a name as well. So it was two pieces of equipment that picked up this same thing. So it's always good to try different things. I
suppose it goes back to when you've got two pieces of equipment confirming the same thing. That's evidence. If you've got, like, say, an app, just the app, and it's saying, I don't know, Stephanie, Julia, just spouting out random names, and nothing else is going off, I would personally disregard that.
Alice box is some great evidence from one, even though it's a word bank.
I agree, Jacqueline, and I also I'm a bit skeptical about it, because you could actually, when you actually download it, you can actually get into the word bank and actually change all the words. So depending on where you are, you could literally change all the words to something that's relevant to that location. And then it becomes not evidence because you've programmed it. If it says if you're in a graveyard and it says graveyard or grave or something, and that's not in the word bank, it's like, oh yeah, we're in the graveyard. Look at it's like, no, you programmed that.
That's why it was good. That's why it was good. That's why it was good, because you told me about it. I'd never used it before. I put it on, and I had the recorder going at the same time, and it came up on the screen, but it was also on the recorder as well. You know, the next day when I checked, so that clarified it really.
Yeah.
I've got to admit, I've never used it since, but
I don't use it because I started using it and I was like, there's something to this, but the more I've delved into it, I'm like, nah. I suppose it's each to their own, like following the apps and stuff. Like I know Scott said a lot of stuff with, I forgot the name of the app. What's the app you use, Scott?
We use an Necrophonic, and there's with quite a wee bit of response through that. But I mean, we get away from the app. When Tom and why do I keep forgetting your name tonight? I really don't know why I keep forgetting your name. I don't know. Justine. This is Justine. I
might leave. I'm getting offended here.
Listen, Justine, do not build my hopes up and then rip them away.
No, yeah.
Don't rip them away.
Out yet like yours. That's good.
If you leave, you'll be just out.
Yeah.
When that last time out of the cup with Thomas and Justin, we done the human pendulum. Now, I done it, but I never felt anything.
You never moved, did you? You never moved.
I never budged. You know, I'm not saying that
I've never moved. Matt's done it. He's never moved. We've both done it at other locations, and we have moved.
Thomas done it. I like Thomas's his feelings on
it. This is quite good with Tom, to be fair.
Yeah. To me, the swaying just felt like the result of just sensory deprivation, because it sounds silly, but when we got back to the hotel, I actually did a little experiment just on my own. I blindfolded myself and just tried to stand perfectly upright for several minutes, and after a few minutes, I started wobbling forwards and backwards.
Yeah, you do have natural spray.
Yeah. That's just how I mean, it was interesting, and
I did it once where I didn't actually sway. I actually took up the posture of an old man, and I was clenching my fist, but I didn't actually know I was clenching my fist until I was told I was clenching my fist. You know, but I think if you go into a deep, because the thing is, you've got a blindfold on, you're relaxed, and you kind of go into a deep sort of almost like trance. Yeah. So realistically, you could slouch, you know, and you could do things that you don't actually really know you're doing because you're in this zoned out trance. You know, it's one of them. How far do you go, you know, till you can prove that it works, you know?
Yeah. Plus, I think, you know, you're standing there. I'm just going to put Jack, who's coming up in a wee second, but you're standing there, as you say, Matt, you're blindfolded. And Tom said, you know, after a few minutes, he was a wee bit disorientated, he felt himself standing and go. But I also think that you're out there, you're on an investigation, you've got the blindfold on, you know what's meant to happen to you. Exactly. And so sometimes the mind, I mean, the mind's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes your mind can, you know, you can subconsciously start to get back and forward because your subconscious is telling you, look, ideally, this is what's meant to happen here. You know. So I'm not saying
it's like power of suggestion.
That's. I'm not saying it is. I'm not dissing the pendulum. We just like to look at everything for all different angles, whether it's paranormal or scientific or whatever. So I think maybe that can play a part in it as well. Subconsciously, Jack means to have a friend who develops apps with reverse audio across multiple banks and no actual words in.
So that'd be interesting. If there's not a word bank and then you suddenly get a word through, that I'd find interesting.
That would be, especially if you get somebody's name.
Yeah.
You know, you've used the necrophonic. when it happened to, also it mentioned one of your team, Sarah and I were, this is before we met them, when a specific name comes up, and it's happened to her quite a few times, her name, and I think it was her maiden name came up as well. When they kind of things come up, people can call it coincidence, but
No.
when we've been, I'm not saying we're great investigators, we're not, nobody's the best investigators. We go and we do what we do,
Yeah.
We've just been, I'd say,
Everyone has their own way. Does it make you an expert? No, it doesn't.
Well, I'd say we've been quite fortunate. Every time we've been out, we've managed to get something. No, maybe no tons, but we've managed to get some. People could say it's coincidence. I'm kind of 50-50 on that, because can, one person have that many coincidences every investigation? Does that make, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That every time we go, we get something happening, whether it's a ball, the EMF meter, the K2 meter, whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes getting it from here out to there gets a wee bit muddled up, I don't know why the group, you see my name was said through the app, but pronounced differently. There you go.
So I'm understanding from what Jacqueline said. It said Jacqueline, but it was said definitely like, I don't know, Jackie Lynn or something, like said completely different, but it still said the same name, if you like, but because there isn't a word bank, it didn't know how to say it properly, if you like.
So I'm kind of, so what would you say your favourite bit of kit was, Matt? What would you, apart from your own senses and that, if you to pick something?
I like getting EVPs, but I also like, do you know the REM pods? Even though I've actually never even heard one go off, to be fair, but it's just a decent piece of equipment, I think, to use, because you could say, see, we had a thing the other day where we didn't know whether the REM pod was going off, but we was trying to debunk it to see if there was any other causes for it to go off, like a static or interference or anything like that. But I think they're good just to be on a standalone piece of equipment where you can just leave it at the end of a room and you can walk off, and then obviously if anything goes near it or touches it or whatever, it'll start going off, and then you can obviously go back to that location. But I mean, it depends where you are. I mean, I don't have a favorite piece of equipment or one that I'd pick over another. It depends on location, I think.
Have you ever had a I've never gone back there moment?
Not a what, sorry?
I've never gone back there moment. As in, you ever been somewhere, something happened, you think, no chance of my going back there? I call that I've never gone back there moment.
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
You'll learn, Matt, we've got kind of, up in Scotland, we've got different names for stuff that you
Antwerp Mansion.
Oh, I won't go there, because now it is riddled with
it
wires,
wasn't. It wasn't like a scary experience. Say, like, I wouldn't go back there.
Yeah, not for anything paranormal. I've never been anywhere where I won't go back because it's really scared me. I just won't go back there. I've been places where I think, why the hell did I come here? Do you know? That kind of don't go back there.
Yeah.
I mean,
so then we asked that about the group we've gone with.
yeah. It is. It's one of them, and it's either is it the place or is it the group? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the place and the people, right? Yeah.
I've been to
99.99% of the time it's the people.
Yeah, I've been to a place 3 times now. This church where we went the other day, and I went the first time, and to be fair, stuff happened. I went the second time, and people were cheating on Ouija boards and all that, and you think, oh, is it really worth it? And then I went back again, and I thought, I'm never going back there. And then I went back there again this weekend, and it's made my mind up now. I'd never go back there, you know, just purely because I think it's the groups that I've
that's not
been
a paranormal experience point of view. That's just because of the group, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you mean.
The location.
One thing you learn about us, man, is we're big fans of Greyfriars. We've been, let's say, hundreds of times. And loads of groups have investigated there. And I've watched them, I've watched their lives and, you know, bits and pieces on TV, YouTube and what have you. And you see them, you know, running, screaming, running out the graveyard, screaming, hands in the air, you know, we're all going to die, and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We you know, the world is ending, we need to run. Again, no disrespect to them, but we've been there loads of time. We've done quite a few investigations up until we found out that they're actually prohibited in there now. But, you know, before that, we done, and we never get anything. I picked up, and Sarah picked up on a mail one night, and it was very brief. You're talking less than a minute. We picked up a mail standing beside us, and that was it. But also, Greyfriars has got the reputation of the most haunted graveyard in the world, you know.
Right.
And we've never felt anything but a calm, peaceful feeling. But, you know, as you say, people cheating and what have you, and we've seen it happen with Greyfriars, people, you know, dropping their stuff and running and screaming and all sorts of, you think, seriously, you know, that just doesn't happen, you know. Or they'll come away with stories of you're familiar with Mackenzie Poltergeist story. Well, you must. You've never heard the Mackenzie Poltergeist story with Greyfriars? We'll need to educate you.
I'm ashamed to know you as a friend, Matt. I thought you would have known the Mackenzie Poltergeist story.
Briefly, George Mackenzie was. Have you heard of the Covenanters?
The what?
The Covenanters.
The Covenanters prison, Matt.
No.
It's part of the Covenanters. Okay.
No.
Where have you been, man?
Where have you been? Long story short, George Mackenzie was the chief advocate to King Charles the First, and King Charles the First decreed that all of Scotland should follow his religion, basically. So what happened was there was a big uprising. A lot of people basically says, look, we like you as king, but we want to follow our own religion. The king then deemed this as treason, and the War of the Covenanters broke out. This lasted for quite some time. But the Covenanters were defeated in the Battle of Bodwell Brig, and 1,200 of them were brought to what is now Greyfriars. Back then it was just empty fields, and they were placed in these fields for about 4 months. George Mackenzie basically was given the job by the king to deal with them. That was, basically that was his job.
Yeah.
So, and so they were there during the winter. Scottish winters, as you know, are quite bad. So many died for disease, hypothermia, starvation. Those that didn't, succumb to the elements. 310 of them were put on a ship, supposedly bound for Australia to be slaves, but the ship was sunk off of the shores of the Orkney Isles. But the rest of them were basically tortured and executed. So George Mackenzie earned the name of Bloody Mackenzie. They says he was responsible for the deaths of 18,000 people, basically. Right. He's buried in Greyfriars in the Mackenzie tomb. Back in 1998, a young homeless man broke into the mausoleum, just looking to get out of the weather, basically. The mausoleum is built in 3 levels. He went down the stairs where the coffins are, and he claimed that he saw this grey, ghoulish figure coming towards him, growling. He fled. The police were called. It's actually documented by the police. After that, attacks started to happen in the Covenanters prison. There's over 3,000 different attacks recorded in this section of the cut card. It got so the 1999 council locked the gates of the prison. And you're not allowed in there now. We're lucky enough to be Sight of the Dead tours who control the prison and have access, and we've been in and out of it. So the Mackenzie poltergeist name was born, and it said that he's responsible for all the attacks. Whether that's true or not, it's never ever been proved. But a lot of people, I've heard people saying that Mackenzie poltergeist has followed them home and attacked them in their house or comes to visit them, stuff like that. And it's all a load of bull. I mean, you're talking about a spirit that's maybe, 400 or 500 years old. Is it any interested in going somewhere else to visit somebody in their house?
No.
Do you know what I mean? I know that was kind of drawn out there, but it's a thing I'm quite passionate about, is the Greyfriars and that whole, we are. The whole Edinburgh thing. But again, it goes back to people who exaggerate stuff.
Yeah. If you like ghost hunting, I know anyone that's watching, go to Edinburgh. Absolutely phenomenal city. Every turn there's a ghost story to be heard. It's amazing.
It's not that. It's some people will get told a story and then they'll make it be their own story, tell it to their mate, add a little bit, pass it to their mate, then their mate, and they've all added their own little bit to it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's where we're quite passionate about our research. We never state anything as paranormal. If we present facts, we present them as we've researched them. No, somebody like Thomas himself. He'll tell us stuff about Pendle, which is fact. It's not something that he's made up or whatever. If it comes to Thomas, then it happened. Truth. And that's why if we ever state anything, we research it and we check it to make sure that we get our facts right, and it's no, Chinese whispers, basically. Passed down, because it's the old story. Somebody falls, cuts their finger. 2 weeks later, somebody else is getting told that they broke their leg, because it's got worse and worse every time. The stories, another one, they died, and you see the guy say, "I thought you were dead," and they said, "No, I only cut my finger." "Oh, I get told you were dead," because it just adds on and adds on, and it really gets to the ridiculous stage.
Yeah.
But on that note, I think we'll wind it up there for another night. So thank you, Matt, for coming on and getting interrogated. You will be seeing a lot more of Matt. Justin's away.
Right.
He's gone. Whether he comes back or not, we don't know. But I'll keep a hold of you, Tom and Matt, after we come off here. I don't know if Justin's going to appear again. He's probably pressed the wrong button. So that's us for tonight, folks. Thanks very much for coming in. We're back tomorrow night with the lovely Jacqueline Dixon, who was in the chat. Jacqueline will be on the panel tomorrow night, so you can come and just pop all your different questions in. She certainly knows her stuff. Our group's called Paranormal Path. Give it a wee look up on Facebook, because as well, they know their stuff, and they are genuine. And then on Thursday night, we have the one and only Mr. Richard Felix coming in, paranormal investigator, historian, TV personality. We finally managed to get him, thanks to Jacqueline. He'll be on Thursday night at 9 o'clock. And we've also got other stuff going on. They'll be up on the Facebook page. So we'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully, at 9 o'clock. So thanks for coming on, guys. And we'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye.
See ya.